First, we find them in a lot of societies all around the world. They're not just individuals, they're typically communities, communities of place, sometimes communities of work, and they feel humiliated because they recognize that they've fallen behind some other group that they used to be at parity with. And so there's that sense of frustration, despair, sometimes anger, as to what and why. They're asking themselves, why did we fall behind? And sometimes the really tragic thing is when they blame their own community. They look at their own group and say, who in it let us down? And that's a tragedy because nobody in their group let them down, most likely.
Draw a direct line in the book with Milton Friedman, the market, the concept of the market will rectify itself and the market will solve everything. And then we go into neoliberalism and into the Thatcher and Reagan years.
That's right. So I want to demolish Friedman and all he stands for. Because Friedman had a little image, just like my two dinghies, but it wasn't the two dinghies, it was the string of a harp. And he said, oh, the economy is just like the string of a harp. You pluck the string of a harp, it wobbles around for a bit, but then it goes back to where it was. And that was a simple image to explain what he thought would happen, which was once the place got hit, wages would fall, property prices would fall, and investors would rush in and say, oh, that's cheap, that's an opportunity. Well, it doesn't happen. It certainly didn't happen in Britain. I give you example after examples of places where it just didn't happen. So the empirical evidence on is it the two dinghies or is it the plucked harp is overwhelmingly in favor of me. He's just wrong. Now, I've got endorsement support from, on the present count, it's 2 Nobel Prizes in economics, but my favorite hasn't got the Nobel Prize, he's got everything else. It's Raghu Rajan, who is basically the top dog at Chicago Business School, the Booth School. And Raghu Rajan has fully endorsed what Left Behind says. But that's where old Friedman was. So even his own university is now saying, sorry, Milton, but you were just wrong.
And Paul, are the Friedman concepts, forgive me because I'm not an economist in any sense of the imagination, are they the underpinnings of neoliberal ideas?
They are completely. This is how the whole damn thing got going. The worship of the market. Everybody's been reluctant to embrace uncertainty, the fact that we really don't know things. But before Friedman, we got basically a worship of government. Government knows best. And that gave way with Friedman to the market knows best. Well, the truth is, neither the government nor the market know best because some things are just plain unknowable. Helmut Kohl found himself the Chancellor of Germany, the head of the German government, at the time of unification of East Germany and West Germany in 1992. And he wasn't naturally a great man. He was probably a pretty ordinary man, but he rose to the occasion. He saw that he was at a historic moment, and he either rose to it or didn't, and so he rose to it. And he saw that East Germany was way behind West Germany. It was its level of worker productivity was about 1/5 of West Germany. And so he saw that this was going to take a long, long time and a lot of money to enable East Germany to catch up. And that he wouldn't himself be in power for all that time, nor would his political party. And so the first thing he did was to say, well, this is not about party politics. How many leaders do you know who say, make a step like that? Not many, right?
No.
He said, it's not, we can't play politics about this. And so he said, let's all the major parties agree that this is going to be a commitment that all the parties make. So it's a commitment for the next 30 years. We will pour money into East Germany so that it can catch up. And the other parties agreed. And so that was the first step. Then he said, this is going to cost a lot of money, so we're going to have to raise taxes. Sorry about that, but it's your moral duty as a West German to help your fellow citizens, these East Germans, and we're all going to do that. It's a moral duty. So he appealed to morality, and he called it a solidarity tax. And it was a big tax. It raised German taxation by 10%. It generated on average 70 billion euro a year, which was then poured into East Germany. So that was the first step. I think that was pretty magnificent myself. The next thing he did was to say, was about agency. Who's going to be spending this money? Is it something that we're going to direct from West Berlin or wherever? No, we're going to give this to East German cities, and their local governments will figure out how best to spend the money, city by city, place by place. And so he devolved agency to those communities. And some figured it out quickly, what to do. Others took time, but they learned from each other. Give them agency to the cities. They're a network group. Let them figure it out for themselves. And by the end of the 30 years, which ended about 5 years ago, they'd got from 20% of productivity in West Germany to 85%. So that was a huge, in my view, a huge success to get from 20%, so only 1/5 of West German productivity, to 85% of West German productivity. Now, the Germans don't see it as a success. What they see is it's only 85%.
Why isn't it 100?
And the East Germans are very resentful of the fact that they're still looked down on.
But what permeates the book and the pages of the book is the class system. And it's the influence of the middle class and the aristocracy, and the holding up, the centralization of power. Right?
Absolutely. So we're massively over-centralized. We're just astoundingly over-centralized. Both the government over-centralized in Whitehall in London, and the private sector. Finance is massively heavily concentrated in London, and law, or the courts are all headquartered in London. You know, so everything, and the media all run out of London, and so it's London, 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 London. The sense of alienation for the places that are outside the southeast. And it's terrible. It's alienation, and then and they smell the disdain that
You
London.
referenced the term "shackled to a dead carcass." I think was a term that came up, right?
Yeah, that's right. Shackled to a corpse.
Shackled to a corpse.
Right. That was a media. That was in the Financial Times. That was their description of what London felt like vis-a-vis the rest of England. Shackled to a corpse. Well, there's not a lot of empathy and respect there. I work a lot with Michael Sandel, who's a world famous Harvard professor of political science, and he's got a very good concept of contributive justice, and he argues that every community deserves equality of respect and equality of voice. And if you find communities that don't have equality of respect and don't have equality of voice, then they're establishing that equality of respect and equality of voice is a top priority. Well, does the working class in the north of England have equality of voice? No. Do they have equality of respect? No. Is anything done about it? No. You know? So there they've been left to spiral down. The measure that I think is the most killing is life chances. By life chances, we mean if you're born in the bottom half of society, what's your chance of ending up in the top half of society? And it's Britain that is just off the map unequal compared with the rest of Europe. I mean, it just doesn't have to be like that. The European structural funds, which were designed to help poor regions, and so which were indeed designed to transfer money from the southeast of England and London to the north, uniquely in the whole European Union, the British government insisted that all the money for structural funds for the north of England be channeled through Whitehall. So the Treasury, the British Treasury, got that money every year, and the Treasury controlled who got it in the north of England and how it was spent. And so everything was controlled through London, even the structural funds. Everywhere else in Europe, the funds went directly to the poor regions that needed the money. That was vetoed uniquely in Britain. It tells you what paranoid centralized control we've suffered from.